Hi children, today I am going to start third lesson in your material and 12th lesson in your textbook. The title of the lesson is Changing Cultural Traditions Between 1300 and 1800 AD. It is a lesson from history, first lesson in history. Now let us start the lesson. The history of any country is divided into three periods to facilitate the study of history. And they are ancient period, medieval period, and modern period. Likewise, European history is also divided into three periods. And they are ancient period is up to 400 AD, medieval period is 400 AD to 1300 AD, and modern period is again divided into early modern period. It is from 1300 to 1800 AD, and modern period is 1800 to present day. And these dates are rough dates, and different historians may use different dates because according to different historians these dates may differ. Now, ancient and medieval period in Europe. During ancient period, Europe was dominated by the Roman Empire because at that time this Roman Empire controlled much of Europe, Turkey and Egypt for a long time. And there were many great cities like Rome, Alexandria, etc. Alexandria is an important seaport in Egypt. And this Roman Empire declined. After 400 AD, it declined. That means it came to an end in 400 AD. After the decline of Roman Empire, there were no large empires in Western Europe. Now, a new social system, feudalism, came into existence in Europe. After the decline of the Roman Empire, a new social system, feudalism, came into existence in Europe. Feud means land, and feudal lords means landlords. Landlords exploited the small farmers who were called serfs. The small farmers were called serfs, and these serfs were exploited by the landlords. And this exploitation was called as serfdom. The small farmers were called as serfs, and their exploitation by the landlords was called as serfdom. And these small farmers had to work in the fields of the landlords, in their workshops, and also they had to fight for them in wars. And these serfs had small lands of their own to sustain their families. In spite of working in their own lands, they had to do all the work for the landlords. Under feudalism, political power was with large warrior landlords, and these landlords only controlled the villages and the peasants. And these landlords were constantly at war with each other, and they used to fight with each other for various reasons. And this created a lot of insecurity for the serfs. The small farmers, they were insecure because the landlords were fighting with each other constantly. And mainly, the culture of the people in those days was dominated by the Roman Catholic Church. Individual thinking power of the people was suppressed, and they were asked to believe blindly what the priest told them without questioning. And after 1300 AD, there were some changes in this situation because the small peasants started resisting and fighting against serfdom. They could not tolerate it any longer, and they started resisting and fighting against serfdom, against the exploitation. Serfdom means, I told you already, exploitation of small farmers by landlords. And they raised their voice against the control of landlords over small peasants. And as a result of this, a great revolt of peasants took place in 1381, and serfdom came to an end in England as a result of this revolt. When it was successful in England, similar movements were started in many other countries also. And gradually, the control of the landlords over the small farmers and control of church over the people also started decreasing, and people enjoyed more freedom. Many new towns and cities flourished, and trade also was started once again between European countries and China, India, Egypt, and Arabia. Now, during this period, a new cultural movement was started in Europe. A new cultural movement was started in Europe which was called Renaissance. Renaissance means rebirth, rebirth of literature, arts, painting, science, and technology. And the development of all these things, arts, painting, science, and technology, took place. And that means during this period, all these were developed to a great extent. Many books were written, arts, painting, architecture developed. Many explorers set on voyages to find out new sea routes. People now started questioning the religious authorities and wanted to know simpler ways of reaching God. And cultural changes that took place in 19th century were named as Renaissance by the historians. Jacob Burckhardt of Switzerland, he was the first to write a book, The Civilization of Renaissance in Italy. That was the title of the book. He wrote this book, and in this book he described how new culture developed in Italian towns. He said that compared to man in medieval age, man in modern age was capable of taking his own decisions and developing his skills. And in the medieval period, his thinking power was suppressed by the church, but now he was free. So he compared the modern age man and the medieval age man. He said that the man in modern age was capable of taking his own decisions and developing his skills when compared to the man in medieval ages. Now, revival of Italian cities. I told you already that trade between Italy and Arabian countries was developed during this period. So, the Italian seaports were also developed because we need seaports for trade. And in those days, especially, trade was carried out through seaports because it was the cheapest means of transport. Now, Italian cities were not under the control of Roman Empire because Roman Empire declined. And these Italian cities were now independent city-states. And two of them, Florence and Venice, they were republics. You can see in the map, Venice and Florence, they were republics. Republics means where the head of the state is elected by the people. Now, beginning of Renaissance. How this Renaissance or development of arts, painting, literature, etc. started and where it started first. Beginning of Renaissance. Now, let us see how this Renaissance began and where it began first. In 1453, Constantinople was occupied by Turks as part of their Islamic drive. Turks, they started an Islamic drive to establish the Islamic empire all over the world. And as a part of this drive, they occupied Constantinople also. And Constantinople was the only land route for trade between European countries and Eastern countries. When Turks occupied this city, they did not allow trade through this city. So, trade came to a standstill between the European countries and the Eastern countries. The trade came to a standstill. It was stopped. To continue their trade with Eastern countries, the European countries had to discover new sea routes because Europeans were more and more crazy for the luxurious goods they used to get from the Eastern countries and also for the spices. So, they wanted to continue their trade with the Eastern countries, and there was only one alternative for them to discover new sea routes to those countries. And this city of Constantinople was an abode of many Greek scholars. Abode means center. It was a great center of many Greek scholars. And when it was occupied by Turks in 1453, the Greek scholars who were living there, along with their manuscripts, they migrated to Italy first and they spread their knowledge there. This was how Renaissance first started in Italy, and then it spread to other European countries also. Many Italians developed interest in Greek language and learnt it, and these students of ancient Greek literature, they were called as humanists. The students of ancient Greek literature were called as humanists. From Italy, Renaissance spread to other European countries like France, England, Netherlands, etc. And humanist scholars translated many of the Arab books into Greek and Latin languages, and studied them. Now, Renaissance in arts. Renaissance means it is rebirth of arts, sciences, painting, literature, architecture, sculpture, all these things. So, first let us start with Renaissance in arts. How development took place in the field of arts. Now we are going to discuss it. Arts and painting developed during this period. Arts like painting and sculpture took the form of realism. Artists first carefully observed the nature and other things around them and represented them as they were. They took themes for their paintings from their surroundings and tried to bring life to those paintings. And artists also studied the remains of Roman culture, their buildings, sculpture, and depicted them in their paintings. Donatello was the first to introduce lifelike statues. Lifelike statues means just like the size of the personality of the person. You might have seen in Four Road Junction's B.R. Ambedkar statue or NTR statue, those are lifelike statues. So, these lifelike statues were first introduced by Donatello. And to bring life to their paintings, sculpture, the artists went to the laboratories of medical schools to study bone structures. Andreas Vesalius, a Belgian professor, was the first to dissect the human body. Albrecht Dürer, he painted praying hands. You can see in the photo, praying hands. If we see this photo, we don't feel that it is a painting. It looks like a real photo. To bring that reality only, the artists, they went to the medical colleges even and they learnt about the bone structure of the human beings. And Albrecht Dürer, who painted these praying hands, he said that art is embedded in nature. Embedded in nature, it is already existing in the nature. Everywhere we can see the art of the God. He who can extract it has it. And the only thing is we have to extract it. It is already present in the nature and we have to extract it. That is what said by Albrecht Dürer, who is the painter of these praying hands. Now next one, Leonardo da Vinci. You might have heard the name of Leonardo da Vinci. He is a famous painter. He is not only a painter, he was an engineer, sculptor, architect, and in one word, all in one. And his famous paintings were Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, The Last Judgment, and The Fall of Man. And he studied human anatomy to make his paintings realistic. And one of his dreams was to fly like a bird. By observing the birds in flight, he designed a flying machine but was not successful. He made many such experiments in many other fields also. So, he used to sign his name as Leonardo da Vinci, the disciple of experiments. Next one is Michelangelo. Statue of Peter and Statue of David. These are the two famous paintings of Michelangelo. Statue of Peter, you can see in the picture. Mother Mary, carrying Jesus Christ on her lap, and Statue of David. The knowledge of geometry also helped the painters to understand the perspective. What is this perspective? If the artist has the knowledge of geometry, it will help them to understand the perspective. That means how to show the nearby objects and how to show the far off objects. Perspective means it is a way of depicting different things on a painting so that we can feel the depth in the painting. And this is done by showing the objects in front as larger and objects behind as smaller. And another painter was Raphael. Raphael, his famous painting is Madonna. Madonna means Mother Mary. That painting is famous. And these three together, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael, these three together are called as the trio in the field of arts. Just like in Telugu, Nannaya, Tekkana, Errana, these three poets are called as Kavitrayam. In the same way, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and also Raphael together were called as the trio. During this age, the painters used oil paints also to give greater richness of color to the paintings. And you might be knowing, if we paint with oil colors, oil paints, it gives more shining to the painting. In the same way, they started using oil paints to give greater richness of color to their paintings. Now, Renaissance in architecture. How architecture developed during the period of Renaissance. Michelangelo, he painted the ceiling for the Pope in the Sistine Chapel. And he also designed the dome of the St. Peter's Church. You can see in the next picture which I am going to show. Filippo Brunelleschi designed the Duomo of Florence. This is St. Peter's Church in Rome, and the dome is designed by Michelangelo. Now, let us see how Renaissance started in literature. That means how literature developed during the period of Renaissance. Many books were written during this period. Many books were translated and many books were written in this period of Renaissance. Dante, for example, Dante, he wrote Divine Comedy, a sarcastic work on church abusive practices. And Erasmus, he wrote in praise of folly. Thomas More, he wrote a book called Utopia. Machiavelli, he wrote a book on politics, The Prince. Servants of Spain, he wrote Don Quixote. And this book is available in our school library also. And in fact, all these books were written criticizing the practices of the church officials. In those days, church officials, they carried on abusive practices. And criticizing these abusive practices of the church officials, all these books were written by different writers. Likewise, 1516, during 16th and 17th centuries, what are the books published? 1516, Thomas More's Utopia was published, and 1517, Martin Luther, he wrote a book called The 95 Theses. 1522, Luther translated the Bible into Germany. And 1525, Peasant Uprising in Germany. 1543, Andreas Vesalius, he wrote on anatomy. 1559, Anglican Church established in England with the King Queen as its head. And Mercator prepares cylindrical map of the earth in 1569. 1582, Gregorian calendar was introduced by Pope Gregory XIII. Gregorian calendar, for your information, this is the calendar being followed by all the countries now. At present, all the countries in the world, they are following this Gregorian calendar. 1628, William Harvey links the heart with blood circulation. He mentioned about the blood circulation in human body. He was the first one to mention about the blood circulation. 1673, Academy of Sciences was set up in Paris. And 1687, Isaac Newton's Principia Mathematica was published. And here is a photo of Erasmus, who wrote In Praise of Folly. Now, children, I am going to give you some homework in this part of the lesson, which is over now. Read the part of the lesson completed now, underlining the important points with pencil, and as usual, learn and write all the 1 and 2 marks questions answers in your notebook from behind. From back you have to write these question answers because it is history lesson.